Hello. Welcome
Hi,
to
everyone.
Gamasutra's Wednesday stream.
Hi.
It's a little
Hello.
it's a little Breath of the Wild after we're back from GDC. Uh,
Yeah. This is our first post GDC 2017 show. We're just
it feels good.
is everyone's brain mine is still somewhat of a kind of gel consistency
Mm.
even after a week.
I I'm getting back. I'm kind of doing okay. You were gone for longer, Chris. You were at Dice and GDC, right?
I went to the Dice Summit in Las Vegas, and then I went straight to San Francisco for GDC, and that made me tired.
I guess I should just while we're here, I should point out that hi, I'm Bryant. I'm normally either the tiny box or the faceless voice on these streams. But today's anonymous Gamasutra editor is none other than Alex Warrow, who you normally see down here. Alex, say
Hi.
hi to the nice people.
Hi. How's it going? My house almost blew up earlier. We had a gas issue, but now everything's fine. I'm fine. We're fine here. How are you guys
Yeah,
doing?
I'm doing good.
Thanks,
Nothing.
Solo.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm doing
nothing's
good.
blowing up yet.
I'm
Yeah.
ready for some Zelda because this game is so cool.
Yeah, so we have a Switch here with Nintendo's latest Zelda running through a capture box, and we're just gonna jump in and talk about it for a little while because we've all been playing, I think, and we have some
Yeah,
feelings.
Alex, can you turn up your mic or do something because they're saying you're quiet in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, guys. I have a natural aversion to microphones.
He has a natural version of speaking.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna try to
Yeah.
enunciate.
Scream loudly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're all playing Zelda, right? This is one of the few times that we've actually all been playing a game together.
Yeah. Yes, we have been. I actually was able to get one a little bit early, so
Mhm.
I'm like over 60 hours in.
Yeah.
At least 20 minutes of that was when I fell asleep with the controller in my hand when like over the weekend, and the game kept running. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because it is a lot more kind of feels a lot more Western CRPG inspired open world design than any other like Zelda, that I've played. And I'm not a huge Zelda connoisseur, and I don't even think I could, even though I've played every single one, I can't consider myself like a hardcore Zelda fan. But this one is by far my favorite one that I've played. A lot of it is because of just such a really great, nice selfie. It's just really fun open world design with tons of surprises
Mhm.
everywhere you go, and just neat little systems interacting with one another. It just really you just want to find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh.
let me go ahead and show you guys my sweet house.
Yeah.
We're
Let's
off
check
to a
out the
good
suite.
start, wearing a metal outfit in a rainstorm.
I actually promised in the news article that you would totally be wearing a metal outfit in a rainstorm, and I didn't know you were going to go through with it.
Yeah, and I should
Mm.
say, I'm embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed to admit, but my girlfriend and I have been playing this together off and on. We've got over probably 50 hours in here now, so you're gonna see some things you won't see at the start of the game, but we'll make an effort not to uh, ruin the experience for anybody. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
because
nothing
this
in this
is
house. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have put a lot of money into this property and still no furniture. Hmm,
the plight of the average millennial.
that's right.
Um, uh, Question from the chat, Alex, because I think this is there's two things that we just talked about that are you have a mop.
You goddamn right.
Um, there are two things to talk about just getting started off that build on what Chris said and that build on what we've already talked about so far. One is why did you pick the camel for your first dungeon to finish? Because I started at the elephant. Chris, you started at the elephant too, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, just to clarify, if people aren't familiar with kind of like the premise is that there are four dungeons that they call divine beasts. They're you can manipulate them. They're just like giant, like stone monsters that you go inside and you activate some terminals, and then you take on a boss. But yeah, like you can challenge. You can go to these dungeons in any order that you want. So what we're saying is, we went to the big old stone elephant thing first, and then somehow Alex went to the big camel-shaped divine beast.
Yeah, so we're a little bit of a lag here. I'm gonna pop out and show the map for a second. I haven't actually uncovered all of it yet, but I've done a good bit. So this is gonna be a few seconds behind, but you start sort of over here,
Mhm.
like in this general area, and sort of between this camel picture and this lake. And then you're supposed to go right all the way over here, and I went left because it was cool over there, and I said that's where I want to go, and that's the kind of game it is, for better and for worse. If you see a
Yeah.
mountain or a giant mechanical camel, you can go there.
Yeah, I mean that's not for worse at all. I don't think you can make an
Yeah.
argument that that's bad. Like one thing that this Zelda does really well is it shows you places to go like far off in the distance, and it's kind of like, and you do get that feeling. There's that draw. I want to go to there.
Yeah.
They do these like through a variety of means, whether it's there are landmarks that are towers. You go to them, and then you find your way up to the top of them, activate them, and it reveals a large part of the map. So I kind of did that for, I don't know, like many hours of my total gameplay time, just because I wanted to uncover parts of the map. And one other thing like this game has going for it, and why I've been so compelled to play it more than I do like usually, like typically any game these days, is just the variety of the environments. You go to one area, it might be really oppressive, and just like, you go to Death Mountain, and it's just hot, brown, red. You go somewhere else, kind of like where Alex is. It's just like beautiful green, landscape. There's some ruins. It just does such a good job with the variety, and I think that that's really important in games like Fallout 4. I played that for many hours, despite the fact that you're basically living in garbage land.
Right.
Well, you're a post-apocalyptic hobo, so.
Yeah, it's true. So I have a high tolerance for post-apocalyptic trash settings.
Yeah.
But with this, I just loved it. There's so many things, whether it's the different themed areas, whether it's a landmark off in the distance. There's so many things just to keep you moving.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to point out, from what we've discussed, that this is the first thing that I think makes this Zelda not just an important open world game, but it's also like a big difference in other Zelda games. Zelda games have had some kind of open world-ish, like this large area that you navigate on your own. You don't just proceed through a set of levels. Since the beginning, the 3D versions have obviously been around since Ocarina of Time. Oh my God, I'm learning so much just by watching Alex. But this is the first open world game. This is the first open world game that really gets close, if not actually delivering on the promise of if you see it, you can go there. Like, I feel like that's been an E3 quote for many years now. Like, oh my God, look at this big world. You can go there. You can go to that mountain. You can go to this. And that's sometimes true, and that's true technically to an extent in many of these games, but Zelda operates on. But I think the thing that gets Zelda over the hill is because Link can climb anything. There's no true invisible. Like, I've heard there's one
over the hill. That was good, by the way. You think you said it was that? Did you mean to make that joke? Like, what really gets Link over the hill is
yeah. Whatever gets him literally over the hill. I'm just going to point out in the chat, Thorben says, what are some of the WTF moments we found? Alex is showing one to me right now, because I did not know anything about this.
Yeah, I am in the same boat.
Y'all gonna
as
get
Yeah.
cool
Brian.
here.
I am like,
Uh,
what?
in the
I'll
heck
talk
are you
about this one in
doing?
a minute, but I just want to point out that like the two things that actually make this open world work really well that I think are a really big takeaway for developers is one, they went on the Link can go anywhere, and that's like they mean anywhere. That cliff back there, you can climb it. Those cliffs there, you can climb it. But the reason you don't inherently climb it is because if you try and climb that cliff right now, you're gonna run out of stamina. Like the stamina wheel is a really it's a really strong way to both limit how much players can climb, but also how can they do a lot of other the navigational activities. Like I was a little Chris when I tried it on your Switch at GDC at first, I was like, oh, this stamina wheel, I don't quite get it. Like it seems like an odd thing to add to a Zelda game, but it's a good limiter, and I'm sure they had to do so much testing to figure out, how much you should have at a given point. Yeah, and you can eat your food to like restore your stamina while you're climbing up this cliff.
I feel like I'm demoing a game at GDC. Like, yeah, now we're gonna have some stamina recovery, and now we can make it to the
Yeah.
top of this cliff.
Like this is fun fact, Alex. If you don't jump, you'll actually climb more distance than if you don't.
Yeah, so that's a design
Which is
trade-off, right? Is like it's slow, but you will get a little bit farther if you don't do that hop move. But then if you
yeah,
do, you don't have to sit here and watch him climb interminably.
yeah.
Because there are some huge, like very, 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 frustratingly large cliffs to get up.
Jump for it. Jump. Or you're just you're gonna eat up.
I think I'm gonna have to jump for it. I don't think I have anything that's gonna
Jump
restore
right now. You
stamina.
might make it. Because we're about to see kind of one of the cool trade-offs for this.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
So, Alex,
Nailed
how
it.
did you figure out that boat situation?
I just played the game. I just played around with the
Yeah.
things. There's a really good talk you can go watch now on the official GDC YouTube or the GDC Vault that they three of the lead designers gave at GDC a week or so ago. And in that, they talk about prototyping this game with using 2D assets. And if you just watch that talk, you will learn a bunch of different mechanics about how the game works. Like I learned about, like blowing the boats around or blowing fire, just from watching them prototype it.
Yeah, I have to go get. I burned the first Korok leaf I found, and I need to find another somewhere. And I didn't pick up the other one I found because I was out of inventory space. So I clearly was not thinking this through. This is going to go so well.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
That was fun.
There was one moment. It was kind of like a viral tweet that was going around with the GIF of Breath of the Wild, and it was one of those big horned people that you're going up against right now, and like Link was carrying a cuckoo, and then the monster attacked Link and hit the cuckoo, and then just like a flock of cuckoos just attacked the monster because it heard a cuckoo.
I didn't know you could do that.
Surprise.
I'm going to
That's just like an example of like that's a really simple like simulation there. When you add something like that in the game, though, even though it's like a small thing, there's gonna be a limited amount of people that experience that. The surprise that I feel like those kinds of things in Zelda happen like on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what I think is like the underlying heart of that standout moment, which isn't the only great thing I've seen shared on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
is Nintendo's done an amazing job, and they go through a lot of it in that talk Alex mentioned. Mm-hmm. They've done an amazing job creating a set of systems that layer over each other like this, which is, I guess, how you describe a lot of games, so I've had a hard time properly phrasing the sensation I'm observing. But it feels like they've done is they've created these base set of rules like Link can climb, Link has a stamina wheel, Link has health, Link has weapons break. Like there's the kind of a base set of rules that are like always present, and then there's these other sets of rules that then when they interact with each other, like Nintendo seems to have done a huge amount of work trying to make sure they account for all these different possibilities of what happens when this system meets this system. Which is probably a very expensive thing to do. I think this game has been in development since Skyward Sword, which was several years ago. So that is, but it's why this works, because to segue real quick into what Rhetoric is asking in the chat, Rhetoric's asking if we've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I've been playing that while I've been playing this game because I've had enough time to play both in the post GDC break I've had, and it's really crazy like to see what makes both games work really well because Zelda works because it has those things like it has the go anywhere system and it has these layering interactive systems. And Horizon Zero Dawn is impressing me because it doesn't have that same level of interactivity and that doesn't have that same level of openness, but they've done such a great job with the combat interactivity in that game, the way the combat systems and the different creatures you fight overlap with each other, that I'm still having a good time there. But I just can't get over the fact that playing these games side by side, you really get to observe how much Zelda does what Zelda does really well in terms of how these systems layer. And Alex is doing a fine job demoing for us.
Yeah, so the thing that stood out to me most in watching that talk is like the designers talked about wanting to go back and recapture some of the essence of the original game.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me if you mentioned this earlier. I was focused on not dying there.
Yeah, it's all
But
good.
they were talking about like, they wanted to, recapture that feeling of discovery. And so they tried to make a game where it was just all about the chemistry of different systems interacting together and like figuring out new ways to get past things. So there are like puzzles in here. There are what you might consider dungeons in the traditional Zelda sense where you have to solve things and figure things out. But a lot of the game is just about like figuring out what you can do in the world. And
Yeah.
that is always like a byproduct, like a side promise of the open world. I shouldn't say open world, like sandbox game design. Like you could figure out wacky ways to get past these challenges, but here it's the main reason to play the game. It's
Yeah.
just to explore and discover things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can play it, waypoint by waypoint if you wanted to, but there's just so many things that are like just magnetic in the game that just are just begging you to keep on. They just motivate you to keep on just being in the world. That there's a lot of distractions, and it's hard for me to like stay on just like strict quest tasks or objectives.
Thorbon wants to know if there are any secrets or shrines that stand out to us yet. The shrine that stood out most to me so far while playing, I don't know if you all have found it yet, but it's a shrine where you kind of like take the Wii, you take the controllers, the Joy-Cons. I played it in tablet mode, so I was holding the tablet as I tried to do this puzzle. But there's a puzzle where you can then like hold the tablet around and move it to move a ball around, and it's literally like one of those.
I played that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a toy. There's a specific kind of toy. I forget the name of it, but it's like that roller ball puzzle maze thing. And I was just like laughing as I was like, I walked in the shrine. I'm like, so what the heck am I supposed to do? And then when I figured it out, I started laughing because I was just like, this just felt so playful and toy. Like it was literally like a toy. And I thought this is one of those things that like, if you want to know why the Switch has some nice hat, Alex.
Thank you.
If you want to know why the Switch has like all this great, why it has a promise as a console, it was one of those moments that really made me believe in it.
Yeah, I actually played that shrine with the grip on my TV, and I was sitting there just like like moving the controller around, and then there's a part where you kind of have to like flip the ball, and it worked really well.
Did you Chris, do you play with two Joy-Cons out or Joy-Cons in the case? In
the grip? I keep my Joy-Cons in the grip. I just feel so lazy if I have them out. I'm just like it's like the next it is like the next level of player relaxation while they're just like
It feels so good that you can like lean back on the couch and just have your hands wherever you want.
So you two are grip free. Do you just like sit? You just like sit like this with like your arms being
around Carly. Oh God, Alex, you're in such a bad place right now.
Real bad. Oh, why did I do that?
Thorbon has a question about using amiibos, which I'm curious if you guys have used any yet.
Well, I didn't own a Wii U, so amiibo had no, aside from using a collectible figurine, there's been no reason for me to own amiibos up to this point. But
I have one. I have one, and like Thorbon is just now reminding me that I have this because I got it like a couple years ago as swag at like some video game event, and it's just a Mario one.
Yeah.
So I need to see exactly what that does.
I haven't, so I have no. Sorry, Thorban, I can't testify to anything about it. Maybe I'll go to GameStop and buy one right after. Except I probably because I don't like shopping there.
From what I've heard, if you have an amiibo supported by this game, which is a fair few of them, you can check it in. You can sort of like swipe it, and it will create items in the game, whether it's food or meat or arrows or something like that. So it can actually be used to. The integration, the designers, the way they built it, it kind of flouts the game design because you can check in some of them once a day and then get items. And a big part of this game's design is in forcing
Scarcity,
you to constantly like conserve your items because everything breaks. So that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean, it feels. I mean, like, you know what's funny is like, I mean, I feel like that problem is as old as oh my God, are they fighting the Shocky?
I thought it was, but maybe not. Enemies will fight each other, just like in Doom.
Yeah. Oh my God, that guy totally just put his arm back on. That was creepy.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna put for me. I remember back when I was playing one of the Assassin's Creed games. I think it was Assassin's Creed 3, and I had a pre-order bonus from GameStop or whatever. And it actually was it was similar to that in that it like you had a special mission where you could go sail to this island and get a special sword. And then after I played that, it completely eliminated the need to participate in this like crafting system to an extent because I had like a sword that was more powerful than most of what the game was going to offer you up to a certain point. Right. So I don't know if I like that. Although, I mean, it's nice that it rewards people who want to buy those collectibles, I guess. Mm-hmm. But the game by itself is just so strong. Like being weak in this game is fun.
Yeah. You kind of get the feeling that like that amiibo integration is not core to the game's design, but it is here. Cool.
So we should talk for a moment about the personalities in this game. Because I've gotten some sweet social media traction
for a sweet boy, right?
Screenshot. Yeah, I've had a couple of them. Like there is one. I just took a screenshot, and it was of a guy that said something like, "I don't know much except about horses" or something. It's like, so ask me anything. Guy, yeah, and it's like horse facts. He said, ask me anything about like if there's anything I know, it's about horses and horse facts.
Yeah.
And so like the writing of this game is really fun and whimsical, and the characters are memorable.
Yeah. We have to give. That's interesting because like in talking about that, we get to give credit both to Nintendo and to the localization team. I think that we don't have our Nintendo knowledge guy here, so. I don't know if it's the Treehouse technically or not, but whatever end of Nintendo in America handles the localization, they've brought out like some interesting flavor into the English translation because I don't know how much of that is there in the original Japanese. But you also got Chris, you got some retweets for the Shark Prince that everyone's talking about, right?
Yeah. Apparently the most sexually desirable character in this game is a half human, half shark prince. What was his name again? It was like
oh shoot,
I can't remember. It's like Sidon or something like that.
Yeah, Zora Prince, Breath of the Wild. No, Rallis is from a different game. Prince Sidon.
Yeah. So, people on Twitter like that guy a lot in a romantic way. But he really is memorable. I mean,
he has this repeating shot where he like looks at you and gives you a thumbs up, and there's this push in on his smiling face, and it's like, how can you not like him in some capacity?
He's got a great smile.
He's so dreamy.
Yeah, he's kind of like. Got the Michael Phelps build, except for even shorter legs and larger fins.
Larger body.
Yeah.
I was going to point out, I think there's like something extremely practical in the way characters work in this game, because I've been thinking, I've also noticed the same thing, but I've also noticed, it's not that far a leap from Zelda's better characters in years prior to this. Like, you could go back to Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. A lot of people will point to and say this is actually a thing that's been around in Zelda games for a bit. But I think what the new depths that Nintendo has mined, on top of just making Twitter really horny for fish people, there I said it. The new depths mind seems to be that, like, there's a lot of information that these characters have. Like, that's always been true in Zelda games, that random bystanders would always have something important to tell you in some extent. Like, if it wasn't world flavor that was actually pretty nice, it was just like, hey, I heard you needed this item to get up here. But with all these little hidden systems to discover, they've sprinkled so many tips throughout the dialogue, and then they've turned a lot of those tips. They've figured out, they seem to have figured out, this character has this personality, they know this thing, and they would tell you in this fashion for this reason.
It also seems like that the game takes some hints from Western CRPGs, in that the NPCs, you feel like they have a routine, things that they do. I don't know if they're actually traveling, like, like on the map between places, or if they're just spawn. I think some of them spawn and some of them just like travel roads. But you'll run into them, and then it's just cool because you feel like there is like an actual world that is happening, even when you're not looking, when it comes to the characters.
Right. Let's talk about, because I think I want to ask if you guys have been able to pick on some of the cheats Nintendo's using to make this work. Like, I'm actually pretty sure, because in theory, there's the illusion here is that Hyrule is a persistent world, always on, like, stuff's always happening, and because there's never a loading point while you're moving about the world. So if you're traveling about, you'll see characters traveling. I was once stalking an NPC throughout the day-night cycle because I was trying to figure out a quest, and he was the marker for the quest for some reason. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of ways that Nintendo is trying to tell you this game is always happening when you're playing it, and this game, characters are always moving about. But I think I've noticed a few, like, I've been trying to figure out how they get that all done with a console that is less powerful than the PS4 or the Xbox One. And there's two things. I think Chris just pointed out that, like, I think depending on where you are in the game, the game will do a check to say, like, hey, these are the characters who wander through this area, but they need to, depending on their cycle is stored, like, what, the places in the world they wander. And so that character may not in that moment be over in another town right now, but if the game knows that they're supposed to be where you are or not, it'll, like, say, oh, they're in another town, they won't be here at all. But then I was hanging out in one of these horse stables, and I looked up the road and saw a Goron merchant wandering up, and I thought to myself, oh, the game must have figured out that I was here, and Beetle had shown up there, so it was like, oh, we're going to put Beetle here and give the illusion of Beetle wandering the world, and then we're going to have this Goron merchant walking up the road, so the player can either go walk down the road and talk to them, or wait for them to approach the camp while they do other business. So that's one cheat I noticed. The other thing I wanted to point out was I was trying to figure out how they could, like, have this, like, insane depth of field, like this, depth of vision, because you can go up to those high points like Chris mentioned earlier, just look out and see as far until you like, there's physically a mountain there. There's nothing in theory like limiting your vision. But I noticed that like, I was looking through an area once and I happened to, like, zoom in or something, and I noticed a rock spawn in, like, that wasn't there when I was further back. So it does a huge amount of work to, like, hide. It gives you the further back you are, the more detail it hides, and it gives you the broader shape and colors you need to see. And I'm also reasonably convinced that when you go higher up, there's some kind of curvature of space happening where either your speed or the physical distance you have to move is somehow covered because it's shortened, because when you're on the ground and when you're higher up, there's an illusion that makes it feel real. But I'm sitting here going, like, there's no way they're rendering the tower as it is tall and and with all those features as I am here right now compared to when I'm on the ground looking at the tower, either when I'm closer or when I'm at a different distance. I think there's just some kind of illusion going on when you're higher up.
Thorbon also points out how when the blood moon rises, that's also a trick so that the game doesn't have to remember enemy deaths.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also gives you an opportunity to go back and take weapons and supplies or whatever when
It'll give you a horse. Last night I was playing and I was in the middle of a blood moon hit me while I was just wandering about, and I got into a lot of trouble. So I knocked a guy off his horse and stole his horse and ran off. Grand Theft High Rule.
So what are you doing here, Alex?
This game is just a nice game to spend time in. And, I was thinking, Brian, what you're talking about, all the little tricks they do to try and make the world feel alive and expansive and organic while, trying to do so on maybe a not cutting edge console. And I think a lot of it has to do with just giving like surface level illusions, right? Like, people have like daily routines, but you can, I have a new horse. My girlfriend got a horse named Pancake. Sorry, Pancake. And it's like it's about giving just the barest hint that the world is around you, and then allowing the player to fill in the gaps. Like just like the original Zelda, there's not a lot there, but there's just enough that the player's imagination can fill it in. And I feel like that's very similar. That's what they've done here. And so when you look at games like Skyrim, which has like Radiant AI and everything, there's a much, I think, more detailed version of this in a lot of ways. Like it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the game design is holistic and that it gives the impression of the world and allows the player to go and explore and discover things. And whether or not those things are actually highly detailed doesn't actually really matter in the long run.
Yeah. Can we talk about a feature that's missing actually for a second that I thought comparing this to Horizon Zero Dawn?
Oh, allowing you to remap the controllers. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, totally. No, I don't think you can do that in Horizon. There's no like assassin vision. There's no hero vision. There's no Link vision. There's no. I'm looking for a Zelda pun here, but I don't think there is one. There's no. Horizon has a cool feature, and I love it. I actually like it a lot, but I've heard a lot of people complain about this in modern open world games.
Yeah.
It's a feature where you click a button and you get a little like overlay and UI, like a thing that tells you what's important around you. You can use it to scout enemies, see them through walls. I thought Horizon did a really good job justifying its version of that. Assassin's Creed has tried to, over the years, explain that assassins are so magical and wonderful that they can see like things that others can't. Depending on the game, there's kind of a different excuse for whether it's part of the animus or not. But Horizon just straight up said the character has a computer on her head. She has information that there's not, and we're going to weave that into the story.
Yeah, like Detective Vision in Batman was one that was.
And my understanding is that system exists because the worlds are there's so much there in those photorealistic worlds that through early testing, a lot of developers have realized that players need that overlay so they can figure some stuff out, and then they've built cool systems off it. But Zelda's just like, nah, we don't need that. Like,
yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and it's kind of like what I was getting around to earlier. Just the level design in an open world game like this, the way that they've used paths, landmarks, and things like that. You don't have to rely on your mini map. You don't have to rely on some kind of special vision that you have. And very early on in the game, when you go up to the first tower, and it's you have kind of like a guy telling you, look around. And you can tag certain places through these, they're just like binoculars that you have, basically. And you can tag them on the map. So go to a very high point, use your actual eyes looking at your television screen, and you can see the spires rising up, or you can see the little shrines that you need to mark. And it's just the game just relies on quote unquote natural visual signifiers rather than trying to fold some kind of special vision into the narrative of the game.
Yeah.
So, I like that.
I also want to point out that, it's kind of also going over to the art department side. Just looking at the scene Alex is at right now, the color choice, the enemy, there's a lot going on to keep it simple. Like some people have actually complained about how the game's world is too open, too big, too boring. But you you might drop into Grand Theft Auto, which actually doesn't have a vision system, I think. But you might drop into Assassin's Creed or Horizon, and like there'll be a cool space and it's really cluttered. But it's like, or even The Witcher had like trying to have all this like, this very photorealistic city with like like detailed buildings. But what that creates is a space like you just can't. There's so much information to parse in this digital world that like something necessary or obvious could float by. Zelda is like, I'm looking at the screen here and I'm pointing, like I can outpost, bush, tree, like feel, and like the field of vision is just so clear because it uses these big open spaces and then keeps everything spread apart. If something's hidden, it's meant to be hidden. Like it's meant to be not easy to parse out. Like the little kokoro, the little dudes, the little plant guys you can get seeds from.
Yeah, and it's like that in all the different environments, whether it's out here in this green valley or if you're out in the desert. It is sparse, but at the same time, it also makes the points of interest stand out more.
I totally agree. It is harder than I expected to have a cogent conversation while trying to play a game of this like sort of gentle scope.
Yeah.
I think,
What?
I think this game is the current like epitome of sandbox game design, because there's a story, but mostly this game is just go do these things. There are shrine quests, there are like main boss guys, and it's just like there are no like meaningful stories, there are no meaningful side quests. Like they're there, but that's not why anyone is talking about this game. And so if designers are looking for a good example of how to make a compelling sandbox game without necessarily like top tier performance or whatever, this is a standout example.
I'll point out when it comes to like, this game, like I'm just gonna the game does something really I love with its side quests, which is it'll give you side quests, but it's not go to this waypoint, do this thing, go to this waypoint, do this thing, go to this waypoint, cutscene, do this thing. The side quests are explicitly meant to be, hey, you may not know about this system, so here's a quest that'll introduce you to it, but you can totally ignore it or find it on your own if you want. It uses the shrine side quests for like hey, you think you're a really clever player, like here's a challenge that'll push your brain to the limits, like figure out this riddle and look at the environment and try to figure this out. And then on the main quest, it will at various points stop updating the quest log and say, yeah, you got to go to the next divine beast. Good luck. Like you'll find it. We trust you. But it takes so much work to get that trust going. Like Polygon had an article saying The Legend of Zelda doesn't hold your hand or something, and I saw one designer sort of tweeting about that article and going, do you know how hard it is to get like your tutorialing to the point that it's so consistent in your systems that you can do that? Like open world games having to handhold you through other stuff is not like, it's not that one is somehow better than the other and everyone should just throw out the other. It's that Zelda can only do that because of how much work was put in to make that possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. But what do you all think of the puzzles in this game? I find some of them I like better than others. Some of them don't seem intuitive, like as intuitive as others. And I will admit I did have to use the guide on a couple things. I'm just I am so okay with using guides anymore. Just I just got really stuck on the camel, divine beast, and Naboris or whatever.
Yeah,
I haven't
kind
been
of
to the camel.
Yeah.
But
Yes!
in general, oh yeah, nice. In general, I think the puzzles are they're well done, and for the most part, they're just tough enough where they're not overly frustrating. But like once you get through it, you feel like, oh yeah, I'm pretty clever.
I think I think as far as puzzles go, I haven't been to the camel, so I can't testify to those puzzles yet. I've just finished the elephant, which Nicholas Wagner, our good friend Nicholas Wagner, who shows up here a lot, has informed us that they had to get some help from YouTube on that one. I was in the elephant, and I was getting frustrated at first, and then I was lucky enough to just be messing around with the systems, and suddenly I was like, oh, wait a minute, I can use more than stasis to get through this elephant. He's trying so hard.
So I was stuck on the elephant. There was one more terminal that I had to activate, but since I got my Switch and Zelda early, of course, there's no guides or anything. So I had to corner Nintendo expert Kyle Orland, who writes for Ars Technica and actually used to write for Gamasutra. And I had to ask him in person at GDC. I just like took my.
Was that at Megan's party?
No. This was just I just ran into him. I was like, "Hey, I need to ask you something." Just like in the lobby of the Moscone Center, and just took the Switch out. This is what's nice about this console. You just take it out of your bag. It's like, okay, here I am, and then he shows me what to do. I'm just like, I'm a freaking idiot.
I like that I like that the puzzle solving. If we're going to talk about the puzzle design, I like that the puzzle design. I'm personally holding off on guides, but I like that there's so much of this game that's about players talking to each other. Because we spent. I remember when all of us finally had our Zeldas. There was a moment in our Slack channel where we were like, "Wait a minute! Like you've done that? Wait, you've done that? Like I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know horses could die. I didn't know horses could die until someone told me."
Yeah,
that's sad.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I shall not befriend a horse.
Right. I shall befriend no horse.
My horse's name is Glue, by the way.
Carly named my first horse Boop Doot, and because my second horse I got into in a storm, and I used it to escape a storm, I called it Boom Boom. So as far as puzzles, the only other thing I want to say is that compared to when you're talking about Breath of the Wild, there's an instinct to compare it to other Zelda games because Zelda games, dungeons, puzzles, these are considered core essentials to Zelda games. And I was watching that Boss Key series by I forget that fellow's name. That nice young man who does that YouTube series. He's probably older than me. The Boss Key series did a great job breaking down how Zelda dungeons are structured. So if you're curious about that, I would go watch that for traditional Zelda games. And there was a point made that so many traditional Zelda dungeons are structured around one tool or like an escalating set of tools. So you get that you start off with maybe the tool from the last dungeon, you get the new tool, you learn how they work together. Yeah. Like there's traditionally a sense that you would go into a Zelda dungeon with the understanding that there's an objective to solve, and I think the interesting thing so far about the two interesting things are that dungeons are now split between the shrines and the divine beasts. So the shrines have that traditional rule of this shrine is about one thing and one thing only, and you're gonna figure it out or you're gonna leave, which is nice. Because it keeps the pace, it keeps you out in the open world because it's just one or three between 1 and 3 puzzles. So Alex, you
can't have that. Yeah, but I mean that's a good point because of the way that Breath of the Wild is set up and it's open and you can go to divine beasts in different order. You can go to shrines in different orders. Then there's not that linear like tool progression that you have. They can't expect that you got the hook shot, so then you can go to and complete this dungeon next. You know?
Yeah.
It's you're going to the shrines and they're just like puzzles that you solve with just a very standard base character skill set.
Yeah.
And then you just earn. You go to those so that you can get more health and stamina.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Yeah, it's interesting, like the ways that they've had to tweak traditional Zelda like system tropes in order for it to fit in an open world like design.
Yeah, I was going to add. I think that was what made the first Divine Beast, a little confusing. Seems like to people in chat and to me was that I expected. Oh shoot, I have to use stasis for all these puzzles. And then when I realized I could use magnets to move the turn dials, it happened. Alex got struck by lightning. When I learned you could use the magnesis, when I learned that the
showing the
frozen-
ragdoll effect. That was quite the tumble.
Yeah. And all those tools that you need to solve the dungeons you get in the first hour of the game,
Right.
which again must be something that was just so hard to pull together, because to tell the player, hey, you're going to learn all the skills you need for this game in the first hour, that just can't be easy. Like, I'm so impressed by what they did there.
Like,
There's
Nice-
so much. There's
nice
so much
lookout.
left. There's so much left to this game. Again, I'm like 60 hours in. I'm on third Divine Beast. Here we have Nicholas Wagner saying, "I haven't lost a horse yet, but I hear there's a horse god that can bring them back if they die."
that is the only reason I know you can do that, is because I found the Lord of Horses, and he'll hook you up. Don't worry.
This game, I mean, I watch other people play it or see people tweeting about it. I mean, just even right now, it just makes me want to play it.
Yeah,
And
no.
there's not. I mean, that kind of game, like for me anymore, it's rare.
Yeah.
It was just like you think about it, like when you're not playing it.
I have Mass Effect, I have Horizon, and I have Zelda all queued up to play, and I'm crying because at least two of those three, I haven't turned on Mass Effect yet. I'm crying because two of the three of them are so good, and Zelda especially is so good, and I can take it anywhere, and I'm just like, it's so good. I can play it wherever I want. Why am I so? This part of our world is fine. Other parts are not fine right now, but this is fine.
Yeah, I'm not typically somebody who plays or buys a lot of Nintendo games. I just never had that growing up. This is the first Zelda game I've really played since the one on Game Boy, Link's Awakening, and the first Nintendo console I've ever purchased. And you know, we could talk all day. We talk for hours about what's amazing and what's kind of tricky and what could be better. But deep down, I've watched everyone I know, including the both of you, sink into this game and play it for tens upon tens of hours, and just constantly be surprised and excited and wondrous about what they're seeing and what they're doing. And I think that can't be understated or overstated, rather. Sorry, this is a physics problem, I guess. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, maybe I'll come back to this later.
No, finish it, Alex. You have to finish this.
I have to think while talking. All right. Okay.
I was going to say, sorry, I was actually going to point out one thing about this game that I don't think we've actually got enough time to yet, is that it does do something that Zelda games have done for a while. I feel like it's sneaking up on me. So maybe there's stuff in the story that I haven't encountered, but it's interesting how Nintendo has come back to the well yet again for the Zelda storyline, saving Zelda storyline, which is fascinating because they put a lot. It feels like they put a lot more detail into it. So you have cutscenes that are more, the character interactions a bit more. You might say it's more dramatically scaled as opposed to just kind of classic like video game, like you must go do the thing. But there's a lot of little ways, like even your relationship with the Zora, with the Sidon, the beautiful Zora prince that everyone loves.
Sure.
It ties into how Link, like the Zora princess, was in love with Link, and you wind up getting the Hylian tunic because of that. That's been around for a while in Zelda games, I think, because I think it started in Ocarina of Time, where the Zora princess was like attempts to betroth herself to Link when she's a child, when they're children, and it's like, oh, this is a cute thing because kids do it, and then you come back to the future, and now she's she's an adult woman, and you're a child with the body of a man, which is creepy when you think about it. And that's so far where I am in the game, there's a lot of things that feel new, but they're actually very familiar. You know, Gorons are here. Your good old classic Zelda monster, rock monster buddies.
I'm just laughing at Alex.
I like how Alex is
so hard.
Thorban is pointing out it's just putt putt. I think that Alex knows that. He's just really bad at putt putt.
I loved Putt Putt Goes to the Zoo.
Putt It.
Whatever that, whatever Ron Gilbert's like kids adventure game series was, I was real good at that Putt Putt.
That has nothing to do with this putt
God.
putt. How are you not able to just move it back and move it forward?
I'm standing in a closet with these Joy-Cons, sort of like, and the Switch is kind of at a weird angle, and I think they're not quite I think I'm just bad at video games, you guys.
Um,
Get it. Get it.
yeah,
Oh.
you got it. Send it forward. Send it forward.
Damn it.
Now, how did you
Did
curve
it.
it?
I don't
You
know.
did
It
it.
keeps curving.
I think
There's a lot of physics in this game too.
I do want to point out while we're here and while we're laughing at Alex and just while we're on the subject of hey, this Zelda story is familiar yet new. Once again, Princess Zelda is she's not as kidnapped as she was in years past. She's apparently trapped fighting Ganon off camera. That's at least where I am in the game.
Mhm.
See, you got the velocity, Alex. Now you got to get the angle.
Ah!
I did see that. I've seen some other reviewers talk about, and I just saw one tweeting about this today.
That's messed up.
This
Why
is
is
so-
there no backboard on this? That is this. If I was at a mini golf course, I would want my money back. I'd be like, this is clearly designed to take my ball.
Thorbon says this took me like 3 tries, Alex.
And, well, you should get in here and do
Oh,
this.
you almost.
The
Yeah,
less-
but Thorbon probably wasn't in the closet.
Yeah.
So
I was-
yes, Zelda.
So Zelda herself, some people, some designers have had some trouble with the way the series keeps it's still a game that has a damsel in distress trope, even if it's been very, very elaborately staged. Like the fact that she's off fighting Ganon somewhere, not available, only talking to you by whispers. I've also seen some. Finally read. I hadn't read the full description yet. There's a scene where Link gets the Gerudo outfit and can disguise himself as a member of the Gerudo tribe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a woman's outfit that's and some people were like, oh wait, this is really cool that he can wear this and do all these normal things in it. And then you get to the scene where you get to the scene where you acquire the outfit and there's something that kind of very that sort of uncomfortable
Could be better.
this
Yeah.
woman is a man in disguise, and a lot of critics and developers who are transgender were like, oh, that's great, thanks Nintendo.
Yeah.
So it's I guess that one's actually not a conventional. That one's less conventional Zelda problem. Although the Gerudo have had a weird place in Zelda ages forever, because back in the Ocarina of Time days, they got in trouble for giving them all these weird Muslim trappings. You did it.
Sorry.
Nice.
This game has
Nice.
some good ups and downs.
This is a weird place. to have
Social issues aside,
social
Alex, you did great.
So yeah, I think.
But yeah, it's no. I think that it. Yeah, I mean, I really think that you can't be too careful about Nintendo wants to be mass market, and being inclusive is really important these days. I watched a really great DICE Summit session with Jeff Kaplan, who's the lead on Overwatch, and the approach to inclusiveness in that game is so apparent in the fandom surrounding it. What he basically said was, we didn't create the characters and the environments in Overwatch with diversity in mind. We designed them with inclusiveness in mind. And then diversity it became the product of inclusiveness. And there's there's a business, there's a business reason to approach it that way as well.
I was going to I think because I feel like the problem when you're trying to talk about this issue sometimes is that you can be very ethereal, because you can just sort of say, oh, make these characters or don't. And I think something worth pointing out about the way Nintendo is trying to operate here is that Nintendo is kind of
Oh, God damn it.
This is so hard to Nintendo is trying to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was well done.
Who's a pro gamer?
Are you a pro gamer?
This qualifies me.
Is that a pro Genji? That's the wrong game. Nintendo and Nintendo fans sometimes try to justify this by saying that because other games did it this way, this is how we're going to do that. Nintendo's actually made in its games the recurring themes of Zelda. Like, I think it's both been a design template they draw on, and it's been a recurring theme in the gameplay itself. Because you've got Ocarina of Time, you've got Link to the Past, you've got Breath of the Wild, you've got Twilight Princess. Are all games I could rattle off that you don't even have to go to the
Get out of here! I'm done with
Wait,
you.
what? What? You can do that? You can just throw the loot out and the chest respawns?
Oh yeah. So okay. So hot pro tip.
I'm here
from a
trying
pro...
to talk about.
All right. So pro tip from a pro gamer: if you open a chest in Zelda and it's like your inventory is full, you can go back and get the thing out of the chest anytime you want. So you could just like drop the item and then come back and get it out of the chest.
This has been a very revealing session with you, Alex.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. Stay tuned. All week we're doing a tips and tricks broadcast from Zelda.
No, but seriously, like this is what makes the game great. I mean, there's not much streaming that I watch. I mean, certainly part of it is because like the Switch doesn't have built-in stream viewing and streaming. So like watching you play it and all the different things that you can do. I mean, this is what I talked about at the very beginning of this show, is that this is what keeps me coming back. There's like, you run into stuff all the time and it's just surprising. It's like, you can do this? It's like, yeah, this can happen. Yeah. And it's so just like the way that you discover it, it's just unexpected. And yeah, I just love it. There's just nothing right now that I really care about other than this game.
Yeah, not even your kids.
not even my kids.
We're running out of time, so I hate to cram this thought into the end. But before we do our overtures, our ceremonies of finishing, I just want to here we go, skateboard.
Yeah!
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 6. So I just wanted to make a point that Nintendo has often leaned on older games as a source of inspiration and as a way to say, hey, this is where we can start from and where we can innovate on. And Breath of the Wild does so much, like such a great job in some ways of pushing that oh my god, that's so cool. I just want to point out that whenever it says like, oh, we need to whenever it tries to fold into the story these things about how Zelda being like the whole Zelda being kidnapped thing, like as like some necessary foundation for the story. It's kind of one of those things that feels like it could use to update, because when you go back to Wind Waker, which felt like the only, even with I'm liking where this game's story is going, Wind Waker felt like the last time that that the Zelda designers tried to push the room out a bit on how the story played out, because there were some themes and the way the characters of that story came together. It was the kind of an emotion, like an emotionality and a sense of dealing with grief and loss that they haven't really touched in a while. Like, that's the only game where Ganon and Ganondorf get to have any personality, it feels like. Mm-hmm. And there's some things where it's like, yes, it's super great that Nintendo gets to push like springboard off their old games into mechanics. They get to do this with their story. I hope they can learn from now they get to look at the success of Breath of the Wild and say, hey, we can do that for our characters too. And even though you must defeat Ganon is such a compelling core of it, I hope they can push some boundaries for characters, for building that inclusivity and use that same inspiration in that end too. Because this was the game where a lot of people thought you'd finally get to play as a female Link, and for some reason they spent a lot of time in the early marketing explaining in depth why that couldn't be the case. And then you get to this game and you see all these wonderful systems, and it doesn't feel great, I think, for some people. So I hate to cram that in at the end, but that's the end of that train of thought.
But by the way, yeah, I have like all kinds of stuff to say. But
we could go for another hour.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, the open world. If Zelda as a franchise progresses even further into open world stuff, I think that they're going to have to sacrifice some of the the control over the story, just because you're putting so much of it in the player's hands now. So I think like right now, I think this is such a good. I almost like don't want them to. I just want them to make the next Zelda to be a lot like this with different new environments. But I love how simple it is. I love how when you go to the quest screen at the very top all the time, it just says like destroy Ganon, I think.
Yeah.
And like I'm not sure if I think usually with other open world games, just because there's like so many like different ways that it could end, or like a different enemy that you need to conquer in an open world game, that it just doesn't have that. I just like how it's just like, this is the goal. Like that's simple, that's straightforward. You can do it how you want, but this is it. Like destroy Ganon. And I like how they just, every time I switch over to the quest screen, it shows that.
Yeah, that is it's a great place to work from. I'll say that for that on that end of it. Although I kind of miss when Ganondorf had this antagonistic but relatable personality. So I hope that comes back. But it's all, the simplicity is still nice.
Right. I think we would talk about this for an hour, so this is just in a way recovering the same ground. And everyone who's talking about this game is saying this in some form or another, but it's worth repeating. What makes this game so charming and interesting and so talked about, and presumably so successful, is its open, like unregulated nature. I think over the years, Nintendo has demonstrated that it is more interested in making sure players are not scared away or confused, rather than that they are excited to discover things. I think what makes this game succeed is that it is colorful and inviting and welcoming, but doesn't hold your hand at all. And I think when developers look towards what it is that makes players, pick up their game, stay with their game, talk about their game to others, it's something like this. It's a game that like encourages discovery. It's a game that encourages players to think of their own solutions to problems, and it's a game that welcomes them without being blatant about it, being like, here, I'm going to show you how to do things. It just has a very colorful, welcoming aesthetic and is not particularly challenging right off the bat. I really wish I could make my horse fly, but I don't think I can.
The welcoming aspect, and just it, you can go to a nice place in the game. You can sit by the campfire and you could cook some food and see what comes out. I think that you can't like understate that the welcoming aspect. Like make it again from the Jeff Kaplan talk from DICE. He talks about designing the worlds of Overwatch, and you play Overwatch, and they're welcoming places. Like the maps are they're colorful, they're interesting. There was the example of there's a map that is in Iraq. It's not the Call of Duty Iraq. It's not the war-torn, bombed-out streets. It is Blizzard's version of Iraq that goes along with the theme of Overwatch, which is a future worth fighting for. Mm-hmm. And so like Iraq in Overwatch is it's like a technologically advanced city, futuristic and a nice place to be. And like he simply, like Jeff Kaplan, he simply said, if we're expecting our players to spend hundreds of hours in a game, it needs to be a place where they actually want to be.
That's good advice, Jeff Kaplan.
Thanks, Jeff Kaplan.
So wise.
So maybe we should wrap it up here.
Yeah.
And we can mention that the talk from GDC 2017 is already up on YouTube. Would be the easiest place to go. And I suppose if you just Google GDC YouTube and find the YouTube page, then you can find that very easily.
Alex did also put it on Gamasutra.com, so you can find his story about it with an embed to the video there.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and I'll get us out for Alex. Thank you all for joining us for the Gamasutra Twitch stream. We're back after GDC. We're doing more cool things here. We're streaming. We're interviewing developers. We're playing games. We're talking about what's important in the game industry, news-wise. If you liked this, if you liked hearing us talk nonsense about Breath of the Wild, please consider clicking the follow button down below. We'd love to have you. We'd love to let you know when more of our streams are happening. And we're hoping to do some cool stuff this year. We're gonna have a talk later about the kind of things we want to do. And we're gonna like, we really want this place to be a place for game developers to get to hear other game developers talk, and B, just get some cool stuff in front of them that helps them out with their work. That's what we try and do here at Gamasutra. So we are super happy to have you as followers, because you're all great people so far. I've only had to ban like a couple people from chat. Anything else, you can find us on gamasutra.com if you want to read more articles. Since we've talked about GDC too much, we probably have to mention that Gamasutra and GDC are both owned by UBM Americas, so we're sister companies. Please don't, please don't get mad at us. And that's all I've got. Chris, anything else we need to mention before we go?
I don't think so. This is where we part ways and say goodbyes.
Say goodbye to our dog friend, our new dog friend.
The dog friend.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. I guess I should.